In the following video, we're going to be taking a look at turning an analog project digital with GPT. And more specifically, we're going to be asking it to turn it digital into a mobile format, right? So what you're about to see is kind of like taking the idea of carrying around a notebook and then every 3 hours looking at your watch and saying like, oh, it's time for me to fill out what I've been feeling the last 3 hours. And we're going to see if we can 21st centuryize that advice a little bit and turn it into something cool. And then at the end, we're going to translate the documentation of what the code does into a pretty fun and probably pretty mentally stressful situation where an app like this would be pretty useful, even though you would probably just be selecting anxious all the time. So if you want to see the text companion for this piece, for this video, you can click down in the description below and see you later. Okay, so now we are going to take a look at emotion. This quote, I believe, is from the 5 love languages, and we are going to be taking a look at the idea that was raised in here, which is a very straightforward idea. It's basically a program in a way, right? It's saying, hey, here's a thing that you should do. It's like while you're walking around, if walking around outside, carry notepad. If hours equal 3, ask yourself, what emotions have I felt in the last 3 hours, and then write that down. So we are going to turn this into app ideas. So we're going to start out with just the baseline prompt, default from ChatGPT MD, and then we are going to go from there and see convert this almost word for word, hopefully, into a small Python script or something like that that people would be able to use. Right? The above as a Python script I could run on my phone that sends the correct push notifications. As we do in all these videos, we're only going to be writing method stubs and comments. We actually don't really care too much about implementation because Copilot and we'll take care of that. And watching errors on YouTube channels is pretty boring, in my opinion. Write only in method stubs and docs. I use JS docs. I think that iDocs is the same, but JS docs is like right above the thing, and I'm trying to figure out what's which. Okay, oh, that's true. So you can't do Python, but it says you can do it on a computer, or you can't do Python on a phone, which is true. I think that you can't run Python on a phone. You could do Swift for iOS, or you could do Kotlin for Android. So we can actually ask it to translate it to languages that I can run on my phone, or React Native. So we can see here that it imported time and notify, which is notify2 does this quality conversation. And then we're saying like, hey, send this notification with a message, which it shows the message. And then it says, what emotions have you felt in the last 3 hours? And then it's saying that we want this prompt. And then we said emotions felt, and then we're sleeping for 1 hour before prompting again, which is what it said right here, right? So even though it should have said, what emotions have I felt in the last 3 hours? So it should prompt you probably every 3 hours instead of every 1 hour. That'd be a small nitpick, but now we're just going to have it translate it into a phone app, translate it into a language that it can run on my phone. Okay, so it is using React Native. This is really cool. Yeah, look at it go. It does the push notifications with a local notification. The use effect clears the interval. It even has a small little React Native view, right? So it's saying view, and then here's like the text, and then the button that says view your emotions, and you can click that and join the different emotions, which this is actually interesting. This one looks like it will give you a preset of emotions that you'll kind of like choose from. So like happy, sad, whatever, instead of like actually physically typing them in. So I'm wondering, okay, yeah, so we have these emotions here. So, okay, so what emotions would fill the buttons? So like happy, sad, angry. Okay, so now it's saying, yep, happy, sad, angry, anxious, excited, calm. So it's still just going here. Yeah, so now we actually have some emotions to choose from. It's also adding some styles, which is crazy. You can see here that this happens sometimes. Like if your token limit is set to something like 500, if it's writing a big block of code, it'll cut off halfway through, which is another reason that I actually only prefer to do method stubs whenever possible. But for here, we can see where it's kind of heading. We can see the style sheet. We can see that we're mapping through the emotions and creating a button for each one. We can say like, okay, not only can you just click any of them, there's a done button, so you can click multiple, it looks like. And then we're still doing this notification that we're sending a push notification with this local notification. So now here's a fun thing that we can do. Explain this code as if you were in a zombie apocalypse movie and you were running out of time. I'm going to read this once it's done. It's already looking pretty funny. Listen up, survivors. We need to stay on top of our mental health in this zombie apocalypse. That's actually pretty true. true, right? And that means keeping track of our emotions. I've got a plan to help us just do that. We're going to use this fancy code to prompt us 3 times a day to think about what emotions we've been feeling. And get this, it'll even send us a notification with all of our emotions so that we don't forget. Now, I know that we're running out of time, so let me break it down for you. This code uses some fancy technology that shows a pop-up window 3 times a day where we can select our emotions from a list of options. And it sends a list of all of our emotions. It's like having a personal therapist in your pocket. We need to stay on top of our mental health, survivors. So let's use this code to help us just do that. And remember, if we don't take care of ourselves, we won't be able to take care of each other. That's actually a great zombie apocalypse line for like a Goonies movie, probably not for something like The Last of Us. But anyway, yeah, so that I think turned out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the direction that took. We got to see starting again with just a plain quote. We had an idea maybe that said, hey, like this is a non-phone version. So how easy would it be to carry, switch from carrying a notepad to writing something that could write in a phone? And we started out with Python, which it says, hey, like, just so you know, you can't run Python on your phone, but you can run it with React Native. So we were very easily able to take the original code that it wrote and rewrite it in React. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And then we even have some documentation from Zombie Apocalypse. So I'm pretty happy with that. So thank you for watching. Have a good one.